Sadhika.
I'm Radhika.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode for the South Delhi Girls podcast. Today we have someone very interesting जिनसे आज हम बैठ के बहुत सारी relationship, love, women, men, psyche and this entire quest of finding love and staying in love के बारे में बात करेंगे. So we would like to welcome Nikita, who is a relationship coach, who will be with us in today's episode. Hi Nikita, how are you?
I am feeling over the moon that I'm with two very talented women and I'm doing a deep dive into my favorite topic. So couldn't have asked for a better start.
We are so excited to have you. I think this episode is just what the audience would want.
Yeah.
And I hope it, does pan out that way.
Yeah.
So I was reading about this because, it's a very unconventional profession that you're in, a dating coach. Like, how does one even get to be a dating coach really? And iski padhai kahan hoti hai? So I was reading about this dating coach and he shared his journey. Ke how did he get to be a dating coach? And he was like, my therapist. So he used to go to a therapist and the therapist went on like, I have so many patients who are broken men and I can fix them. But what they really want is a woman by their side. And you know about this topic more than anybody I've ever met. So you find a way to monetize it and I will send all my patients to you. And that was his story.
Wow.
It was very interesting. So I was like, I'm going to ask Nikita that how did she,
into all
become
of this?
a dating coach?
Wow, my story wasn't as dramatic as this one. But I think it came very organically to me. I have been dating for a long time and been on all the apps. Had a difficult relationship also. And kind of just, generally struggled with understanding what relationships mean to me. Because it's such a fundamental part of your being, right? Like it can break you or it can make you. So I was dating for a long time and my parents are also after me कि हो क्या रहा है तुम कभी घर पे किसी को लाई नहीं हो. And in this process I just realized that I want to be helping people who have gone through like a similar experience that I have. And I always share this with whoever asks me this question, that when you hit rock bottom, especially when you're in a relationship and you come out of that, you realize that you're so much more than you being in the relationship. And that is something that I learned from my relationship, and I wanted to see what is out there, like what are people struggling with. And that was the end of my corporate life, and I decided that I want to do something which is a little more meaningful and want to kind of cater to a larger audience. And I think everyone's struggling with relationships these days.
Oh, yes, you're so right about that.
Yeah.
Believe me.
So-
we are.
Yeah, and I've always been told, for example, my mother would always tell me, and till date she believes in it, and she would tell me that, a lot of young people feel that relationships need to be very easy and quick and breezy because maybe that's how pop culture has shaped our, narratives growing
Right.
up about and around love. But she would tell me कि बेटा, किसी भी relationship को काम, मतलब it shouldn't feel like a burden, but nonetheless it's work.
200%.
So what people easily your age call a struggle
Yeah.
is just a little road bump or a speed bump that you
Yeah.
should know how to navigate. So उनका mindset ये
Very
है कि
true.
don't have like a very negative mind space about dating because like same things. I think at this point in time all parents of single women at least are asking the same questions. तो कोई है, कोई मिल गया, किसी को घर पे ले आओ,
think-
किसी से बात चल रही है.
Yeah, I was seeing this reel this morning on Instagram, and it was a beautiful reel of two girls meeting and having coffee, and it's super aesthetic. And in the background, they're like, "उसने मेरे साथ ये किया," and the voiceover was so bad, but the aesthetics are like nice coffee date with my girlie, and everyone's just like talking about like where are we at?
Yeah,
That is such a reality check.
Yeah.
But
Because
the question is,
that's exactly what happens, right? What we're showing on Instagram versus what is actually going on in the background,
yes,
We
we
Very
could
all
be
true.
talking
matcha
about that.
girlies and we could be going for yoga and Pilates, but we're actually just talking about what the fuck is happening in life.
It is. And I really like what, your mother said. I think it's very true because we just expect relationships to kind of flow naturally and organically and वैसे ही लाइफ में इतने सारे टेंशन है किसी को काम पे जाना है तो यार ये वाला पार्ट तो इजी होना चाहिए ना हमारे लिए बट it's not.
Yeah.
I think is people need to realize that there has to be some effort and compromise that goes in, even if you are, kind of going in with that approach that oh, it's going to be like love at first sight and a bed full of roses. It's not.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And I think once you accept that reality, you can be in a really nice relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Agreed. You know, because when you're growing up, when you're rather young, you feel that I don't need a companion and I'm just fine by myself and you know what, I'm going to rock it and what
Yeah.
if, you know, I'll end up alone, I'll be that cool aunt or uncle who doesn't get married and all of that. And as you grow up and you see everybody else settling around you and you see your parents getting older, you realize that, well, companionship is so important and it is worth the work. Every relationship,
Yeah.
you know, even with your parents, you have to work on the relationship every single day. No single day is the same. And, you know, it's not always smooth sailings. There are days when you just don't get along with your parents or your siblings and you still work it out and you don't give up on them. I just feel you have to find the right person who's worth that struggle. And while I do not appreciate women just talking about men because I feel there's so much more we're capable of,
Yeah.
I do agree that this is a fundamentally important part of your life and at least some fraction of the day should be dedicated and not like us who completely shut it out.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't
And I
matter
don't
at
even
all.
remember the last time we spoke about, you know, like boys or men.
Wow, that's okay. That's a good thing because half of the time when I'm meeting my girlfriends,
Oh, yes.
I'm just this topic always comes up. It's like
Yeah, so we used to be those girls. So we're
Yeah.
not surprised because that's what girls do mostly. And again, you know, I think excess of anything is bad. वो part भी गलत था जिसमें all we would do is talk about guys and no ideas, no business ideas, no career goals, no general knowledge, no geopolitics, nothing. And you know, from that to this,
There's
where
two extremes.
there's no mention of a guy at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, coming back to you, to what you said. So, what does a dating coach do? One.
Yeah.
How does one know that they need a dating coach?
Okay, interesting question. I like the second question more. What does a dating coach do? I think I always use this example, but imagine you're going on a trek, right? You can pay someone and be like, यार मुझे ट्रैक पे जाना है, get me from point A to point B, okay? And everything will be taken care of. Or you decide that this is going to be a DIY trek. मैं खुद करूँगी ये. मैं सब खुद पैक करूँगी, टेंट खुद ले जाऊँगी, पूरा रिसर्च खुद करूँगी, I'll map it out. I'll document the whole thing myself. So you have two options. Either you do it yourself or you take a little bit of help. Now when you're on the trek, let's say, someone's with you, right? There'll be, let's say, a trek leader or a Sherpa would be like, yeah, the weather's not looking good, let's not go for the summit today. Take it easy. If you were all by yourself, you probably might not have been in the best headspace to decide, right? Maybe you're too overwhelmed, you can't take that decision because there's too much going on in your brain, right? Whereas when you have someone, you kind of share that load. Like, I'm a little overwhelmed right now, but maybe this person can kind of take that load off me and help me decide whether I should go for the summit or not today. Or whether I should take a left, right, should I eat, should I rest, whatever it is. So, just like the trek leader, dating coaches are also people who kind of walk alongside you in that journey, right? Because there are so many people, there are so many apps, there are so many conversations, there are so many expectations, external narratives, internal narratives, conflict between the two. And it is overwhelming because you can't make what's right from what's wrong. And that's why a dating coach comes in to kind of share that load off you and tell you that, you know, there is a difference in the narrative that you are going in with. Is it true? Are you following it? Or is it like something we need to rework? So we kind of help walk alongside that journey when people are coming with those kind of issues, whether it comes to dating or marriage or relationships. So That's how I look at my work.
That's a lot of social service you're doing for a lot of young people, you must say.
It is a little overwhelming because there's just so many narratives that are being shared. And I'm also in the same space. So you have to do a lot of self work to be able to really provide to your client as well, because that clarity needs to be there whenever someone's coming in. And I think a lot of people are confused. They want to find a partner, they know what they want, but somewhere their needs and what they want are different. Very, very different. Like I could need safety and security, but I could want, oh, from the same community, 6'5", right?
Yeah.
So true.
Has to have a good net worth.
Yeah.
What do you need? Someone who can actually like hold space for
Yeah.
you.
Make you feel secure and loved.
So we kind of do these exercises with our clients to really help them understand, are you ready? How do you take the pressure from the family? Do you know whether this is the one? These are some kind of, issues that we help people navigate through.
So now that I know about it, I think I can just count so many people who'd need a dating coach, because genuinely
Yeah.
people are so confused and somehow we've lost track of what we truly want, what we're looking for. खुद से touch में नहीं है तो अपनी needs और desires के बारे में क्या पता होगा? And because we're so lost within ourselves, how do you even navigate a relationship with another person? And we're spoiled by choices. वो तो है ही सबसे बड़ा problem हमारा. So
And also, I just feel that, and maybe this is just something that I feel, and maybe both of you can, tell me if this is something that you also believe in. I just feel that back in the day when, you're growing up,
Right.
and there comes a point in your life where you suddenly start making a checklist of things that you'd want in an ideal partner.
True.
Right? And it's more of a subconscious exercise that you keep doing as things happen to you, as people happen to you. You keep like having that little checklist that I would want my guy to be this, my guy to be that. In the meantime, you're dating. लड़के आ रहे हैं, लड़के जा रहे हैं, वो चेकलिस्ट में चीजें ऐड हो रही है और डिलीट हो रही हैं. आई जस्ट फील दैट नाउ दैट आई एम सिंगल अगेन, maybe the checklist that I'm holding on to is still from back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe those are not the things that I really want anymore, but those are the things that I familiarized myself with. कि अगर तब मेरे को लगता था कि मुझे ये चीज़ें चाहिए, तो मैं अभी भी शायद वो ही ढूंढ रही हूँ, even though maybe those are not the right things for me, because I've also changed and evolved.
deep and embedded beliefs in your
Yes,
system
yeah.
कि मुझे तो यही चाहिए था. I've always wanted this.
Yeah,
So how
because-
can I not want it anymore?
Yes, and that is in itself a little, sort of like a conundrum कि okay, I thought I liked this, but turns out that, maybe I don't anymore.
Yeah, which is why you need to do a little bit of writing, because you go in with a belief system, right? And we as psychologists really work around people's belief systems. They have like these very fixed notions of this is what a relationship should be like. It must be like that. My partner has to do this. Like you're just putting too much pressure. You've created a very rigid mindset. And no one's going to fit into that box always 24/7.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need to have a little bit of flexibility, right? And that's where the narrative shifts. That's what dating coaches and psychologists and counselors are doing. We are working on people's stories. And you said that it happens subconsciously. I feel that checklists are conscious, very, very conscious decisions, right? But something has happened in your past, let's say, which is why we do a deep dive when it comes to understanding your relationship with your parents, your friends, what happened in school. They'll be like, again, she's going to go into my past and I don't want to go see a therapist. There's a reason why we do that, because there are a lot of emotions that get stuck at that point in your life, and those subconsciously stay. And you will not realize it, but they will come out in your adult self as well, right? And if you don't address those emotions at that stage, your brain was not developed enough to process it at that point. So somewhere there is a conflict. And now you're going with the same blueprint into your adult version,
Right.
into adult relationships. That blueprint is very comfortable. You're like, I'm okay, this is how I've seen relationships. But girl, like, you don't have to see relationships like this anymore. You can develop a new blueprint as well. And that's where you said, इतना awareness ही नहीं होता है कि हमें चाहिए क्या, हमारा checklist में क्या है, हम reality में क्या कर रहे हैं. So yeah, drawing from what both of you said, the whole bit about, are we clear about what we want? And second, the whole conscious, subconscious game that is at play.
Right.
Yeah.
I just feel that, we've mistaken what baggage truly means, right? Baggage doesn't always mean having your ex's pictures in your phone or still talking about them
Yeah.
every chance you get. Or baggage doesn't mean that, those past memories still haunt you every day. Sometimes baggage is very intangible.
Yeah.
Baggage is, deeply in your subconscious mind and you don't even recognize that you still have. I personally believe that unless we have gone to a therapist and we've actually healed, all of us are carrying some level of baggage that we
Yeah.
somehow need to figure कि उसको कैसे पीछे छोड़ के आगे बढ़ा जाए. So yeah.
Yeah, I think emotional baggage is also, the baggage that you carry from generation to generation.
Yeah.
The baggage that you kind of have from school, something happened in school, with your friends, with relationships, with your parents, with your colleagues at work. I think that's also a lot of baggage.
I think sometimes, baggage is not your own also. Sometimes it's the
Yeah.
baggage you pick
the
from
other
around
person,
you. For
yeah.
example, if you
So
work in
true.
corporate,
Yeah.
right, you see people having extramarital affairs left, right, center. If
Yeah.
not extramarital, you at least see 40, 50-year-old uncles hitting on every new girl in the office, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
It is
unfortunate, but
traumatizing.
true.
To me, it's traumatizing. Even if I say this with a lot of pride. I don't know ये pride की बात है या फिर ये शर्मिंदगी की बात है. मेरे पे बहुत कम लोगों ने hit किया. Men who had the reputation of hitting on literally every woman, they did not. Now I don't know whether they did not like me enough or
But
they
that's
found me
also
too
because
unapproachable.
You're very assertive and
Yeah.
some I feel that some women just give off a vibe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that other women are giving off a very inviting vibe, but just some are very that you can't fuck with me energy.
And those are like boundaries.
Yes,
So
boundaries.
important.
So
and we'll
important,
talk
so
about it
important.
going
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. That is actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So, even if they did not come and hit on me, because I saw that, I would always wonder, will my husband do this? If, like, let's say, whatever, like, 20 years down the line, will my husband be doing this? Because, eventually there comes a point in relationship and where you get bored, right? And then, when it's too stable and then you want some kind of excitement and, you go to office and you see all these little girls, who are new and fresh and all of that.
course.
And, it is traumatizing. I understand not all men are the same, just like not all women are the same. But well, you start picking up those things from around you and they become they become part of your belief system and that kind of becomes a baggage that keeps you away from trusting in the institution of marriage,
Yeah.
relationships, love. And speaking of checklist, like, and changing checklist over time, like for example, as a child, not as a child. Why do I even say child? It is as a teenager. As
Still
a
a
teenager.
child. We always have an inner child.
The inner child takes over.
As a teenager, I never had funny, like the
Yeah.
quality funny, a part of my checklist. Never. Because when I would see movies and लोग बोलते हैं funny होना चाहिए लड़के, like funny क्यों होना चाहिए? तुमको jokes थोड़ी crack करने हैं बैठ के, I like serious men. And I was a girl and I वो बहुत आइडिया मेरे को मतलब शाहरुख खान वाली चीज़ नहीं समझ आती थी मुझे वो ऐसे यंग एंग्री राउडी वाले लड़के ना बड़े ऐसे फैसिनेटिंग लगते थे सो फनी वाज नेवर अ क्वालिटी इन माय चेकलिस्ट नाउ दैट आई एम ग्रोन अप I want 4 L's that I'm looking for in a relationship that would be my desired relationship and it'll start with loyalty, then love, then laughter. And luxury after that. Now, anybody who knows me would be like, you are putting laughter before luxury? Are you serious? Yes, I am. Because as you grow older, you realize that bhai, bahut bhasad hai life pe. And it is so important to be with somebody you can have fun with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
Couldn't agree more.
as you understand yourself in life a little better, your checklist must and should change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to kind of see that how you are changing as a person. And then your checklist changes accordingly. But I think we don't have too many good examples of love around us, like you said.
Yeah, which is why
Like,
I feel very drawn to certain couples, or maybe I make it a point to, every once in a while to sit around people who are in happy relationships
yeah,
just to sort of soak in that energy as well.
yeah.
Because it's almost, unless it's the parents that I'm looking at, my parents, and I feel that, Touchwood, they have like a very happy, nice, healthy love relationship right now. But apart from that, everywhere else you look, it's just, everybody's in the same boat, and the boat is unfortunately Titanic.
I think everyone's just like talking about the same thing, the same issues, what
Yeah.
we have realized. But as humans, we always have a tendency to look at the negatives because that's how we are wired, also,
Yes, the
right?
negative
Like,
bias.
we have to look for
Survival
the threat,
instinct.
Yeah.
survival instinct,
Yeah.
fight or flight, like, which is why you're like, the worst shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You're always jumping to conclusion.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to tell yourself that this is just my brain protecting myself, There is fear, but fear is good sometimes. It protects you. So don't be scared of it. Like, yes, you go to office, you spend majority of your time in office. You don't spend so much time with your partner. So
Yeah.
the tendency for office romance to happen is high. But if you have the fundamentals very clear between you and your partner, right? And don't kind of keep bringing that in, it could be a good relationship as
Yeah.
well. Otherwise, you could turn into someone very insecure.
Yeah.
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 So true.
So you've been a dating coach for a while. What are some problems that you see propping up a lot
Yeah.
these days in relationships? Like maybe you've identified couple of themes or couple of problems that are sort of common, and you just know that, this is the biggest problem that you sort of experiencing right now.
I think people have really put themselves out there. That's definitely a certain. But what's happening is that what happens after you connect with someone? There has been a trend of things not going ahead after the first or the second date. Like, you always feel like you can get more. Let me see what else is out there. There's so many options. Someone's sliding into your DMs. There are so many likes. You're meeting people organically. And of course, you have these apps and you're getting more people showing interest in you. And then you like certain part about this profile and certain part about the other profile. And you're like, gin chun ke sare mein ikhate kar lu, to this will be my perfect person. But you can't find perfection, right? And I think we have intellectualized relationships and romance so much that there is no space for falling in love. You're like, हर चीज को analytically सोचो. Will he be able to provide for me? Will my friends accept him for who he is? Um, he behaves a little too clumsy after drinking 3 beers. I'm getting the ick.
Such a turn off, yeah.
I'm getting the ick. He burped in public. Okay? I mean, yeah. So, like, that's going to happen eventually, few years down in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So, people are really building walls while we are trying to connect, but at the same time, we are becoming more lonely, is what I've noticed. And this happens in like countries like the US, the UK. Loneliness is way more prevalent, but culturally, we are better off, is what I feel, because you have your girlfriends, and then you have like, someone coming and helping you in the morning. Khane mein kya banna hai? You're talking to her. You have your parents. You have
You're
your
tight with the
colleagues.
families also
Yeah.
comparatively.
So there's a unit.
yeah.
And there is no full-fledged unit in these other countries, right? So dating over there is much more faster and quicker. They'll be like going on 3 dates,
And
back
moving
to back.
in. Yeah.
And moving in. And marriage is not even so, on the cards. It's like, for me, living in, moving in is a better space to be in. But over here, there is that mindset of if you're moving in, it has to be recognized.
Yeah.
So the pressure is there over here more, but over there it is like the person just needs to understand me, and yeah, marriage happens when it does need to happen, but women are kind of going in with an approach, especially in your from 27, 28 until 36. You're on an app, and I don't mean to generalize, but if you're on an app, there is a tendency for women to feel a little restless
Of course.
with whatever
Yeah.
we are being told. And तुम्हें कोई मिलेगा नहीं अगर you're going to cross your 30s. There shouldn't be a significant age gap. If you go around on too many dates, you're termed as, oh my God, she's a slut, or however people may look at.
Easy or
She's
loose.
yeah, exactly. She's very easygoing. अरे कोई भी इसके साथ जा सकता है. She has low standards. And then men also feel that pressure कि यार इतने जल्दी, like, let's ease into this.
Yeah.
So that's also there. I think women are feeling the pressure more. There is a drop in communication. People are not having the difficult conversations about, hey, it's been 3 times since we've met, and I'm really enjoying what we have, and I'm hoping to see more of you, and I'm just wondering when can I see you again, like, or what do we have, like, where do I see this going? They're not having these conversations, or the fact that you behave like this that day really scared me, or you said something to me that day, and I feel like this is going to interfere in my relationship. So that, and everyone's just so busy with their own shit, that they don't have the space to really open up to another person. I think that they're so overwhelmed with Instagram and with work pressure and deadlines and travel and a social life and keeping your parents kind of happy that, are you ready? Like, do you have the space? So there are a lot of things that are happening at the same time, and I think our system and our nervous system's just getting like bombarded again and again. So there's no space for us to like
Calm
breathe.
down.
Yeah. Those are few of the things that I've kind of realized. And when it comes to marriage particularly, I know we're talking about dating, but there's always this thin line of date to relationship to marry someone. And as for women are concerned, they are going in with a very strong checklist. Like, we always want someone who can come in with the provider energy.
Yeah.
Like, just fundamentally, I don't know, we've kind of seen that that's how evolution
Yeah, I
has
think
showed
we've been
us.
shaped up also. Like,
Yeah.
I would say that stereotypes have a lot to play in this, and maybe a lot of other women and other people around us are evolving, as are
Yeah.
we. So, I completely understand that most people still, like, most people want to subscribe to a new model, which is equal.
Yeah.
But a lot of women still want to be old school, and, for them, that thing of, उसको मेरा ध्यान रखना आना चाहिए, like,
Yeah.
overarchingly.
Yeah.
वो वाली चीज़ के I'll take care of you. That still means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it goes for men also. They're just like, we just need you to be there. And I've also seen this shift in how men and women feel. Now women have become like more autonomous and independent and courageous and resilient, and like, I'll pay for the bill and I'll plan this, and don't worry, I got this, I'll hold your bag. And men are just like, we want cuddles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open the door for us. Get us flowers. You didn't wish me.
Men asking for flowers, I'm sorry. Yes, please. I am a stereotype. Call me one. I don't care. But men asking for flowers is like the most uncomfortable thing ever. I mean, no, please. I mean, I'll buy you clothes.
Yeah.
I'll buy you clothes. But flowers, wo mera hak hai.
ठीक है. You can negotiate that. You can negotiate for that. But yeah, I feel men are getting a little sensitive. But at the same time, if they show too much sensitivity, I think it scares women off.
Yeah. I just feel that when we asked for sensitivity, we didn't ask you to, sort of let go of chivalry altogether. We
Yeah,
asked you to be sensitive in conversations and be more emotionally available.
Yeah.
But I think the portion of sensitivity that they've sort of picked up is more, a lot more of femme energy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, pick the right things. Don't pick the wrong things from the shelf.
I hear a lot of women say that is just not chivalrous enough. I think we, like living with our parents, we have seen that, what our fathers have done, and somewhere we kind of expect the same thing from our partners as well, that, my dad's treated me like a princess, right? Like a little bit of the same thing is what I expect, but you don't see too many men doing that these days. Um, and I think somewhere as a generation, we are a little confused because of so much being out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how did men manage to equate equality with lack of chivalry, right? Equality means that if we were to marry, I will happily pay for my child's education, right? If you can't, or if you pay for the child's education, I will fund the house loan, right? That is what equality stands for. Equality means that my job is as important as yours, and when we talk at night, you have the right to rant about your day, but I will too, right?
Yeah.
Equality does not mean that, oh, you hold the door for me and I'll hold the door for you, or nobody will hold the door for either of us. So equality and chivalry are two very, very different things, and I really hope men start to get that, because just like men want to be made to feel manly, women also need to be made to feel feminine, right? That listen, I'm here for you. You know what? I know that you can hold, you can pull the door yourself, you can read the
Yeah.
sign, you can pull the door and enter just fine, but let me hold it for you.
Yeah.
Let me just let you know that I'm there, right? That
Yeah.
you can be this little girl. Let me just,
Yeah.
it's okay if you hold the car door, if you pull out the car door when she's entering in the car, just do that. It's okay if you pull the chair when she's sitting on the table, right? It's
Yeah.
okay once in a while, just grab the check, be like, let me take care of it, you do it next time, so
Yeah.
And also, like, the fact that I have to bring this up, but there is a rush when it comes to physical intimacy. Like, there's a bit of chivalry there as well, like respecting a woman's boundaries and understanding how
Yes.
and when to read the room. And somewhere, I have kind of seen that people are jumping to conclusions, and on the first or the second date, they do tend to get intimate and,
Yeah.
hook up, and there has to be a little bit of chivalry there as well.
absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. Whatever happened to the brewing tension when you bidding
Yeah.
goodbye,
Yeah.
and you want it to be a kiss, but it's
Yeah.
okay if you leave it at a hug or a
Yeah.
handshake or a I'd love to see you again, and that lingering look
that
and feeling.
awkwardness.
Yes, that awkwardness also. Like where you're so clumsy and you don't know where to go. Okay, and
Yeah.
whatever happened to that? Like I just feel romance is missing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Another thing, because such a good point, no matter how forward and open and broad-minded a woman would portray herself to be, there is a hesitation. We do want to take it slow, especially after that age of 22, 23, where you're young, wild and beautiful. You settle down, you mellow down, and you want to take your time with things. So bang on. Another thing is, I would like to point out the hypocrisy. So men, they want to steer clear of women who do it on the first date.
Yeah.
Yeah. कहीं ना कहीं उनके दिमाग में बहुत बड़ा रेड फ्लैग होता है, and they go home and they judge. I have read men talking about this, like articles that men wrote, right? And even
She's not wife material.
yeah, she's not wife material.
yes.
And if she did it with me, she would have done with other guys as
Yeah.
well. So you know what? I'm gonna blow her off. भाई तेरे को फर्स्ट डेट पे चाहिए नहीं कि लड़की करे, तो तू इनिशिएट क्यों कर रहा है? She did not
Precisely.
jump on you.
Yeah.
And
You initiated.
Yeah.
And
You would have been more
actually-
than happy.
Yeah.
To do whatever
And
comes
they
with
don't
it.
just initiate, they also indirectly, very, very indirectly, they kind of, not force is not the right word, but kind of, I don't know, encourage her. Okay, bhai,
Yeah.
I want this, and it's
Yeah.
okay. This is your safe space. Go for it. We can. First, you make the woman do it.
Yeah.
And then you go
Judge
home
her.
and judge her and
Yeah.
dismiss
Yeah.
her on this ground. How hypocrite is that?
I have heard of this multiple times. Even when someone is going with the intention of, I want a long term relationship, like, I've heard people come and say this to me, and by people I mean my clients, right? And sorry, I'm bringing the scientific aspect out here, but for women, they develop that sense of attachment and bonding as they feel safe and secure, and but also as they get physically intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's chemically, there's oxytocin and vasopressin, and like all of these hormones being released, and you just feel more attached to this person now.
Yeah.
And if you've done it on the first date,
Yeah.
I don't mean to say all women, but majority, we will feel attached to this person. Whereas for men, if they kind of stretch the entire process of not getting physically intimate in the first few dates, that's when their bonding will increase. Right? So that's where they might tend to get attached to
Because
women.
they didn't probably heed to their instincts and they.
Because there's sort of tension
Yeah.
also that is being built over time, right? You might get attached if you're very sensitive and if you're very sure that this is your person, and you guys get it on in the first few dates, sure. But majority of the times, women tend to get attached sooner, and men, if you give them more time, they will build that attachment over time. And then once, of course, you do get physically intimate, it's the icing on the cake for them.
Right.
But they get a lot of, the identity and the ego boost and the validation, they get a lot from like sex, is what I have kind of seen
Yeah.
across the two genders. Like if the woman pushes it for too long, the man's going to be like, she's not into me. I'm not
Yeah.
attractive to her.
Yeah. And also self-doubt maybe creeps in
Yeah.
Yeah.
for them that, like, am I not good enough, or what is happening
Yeah.
here, and, what am I not doing right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Such a tricky position for women to be in, because
Yeah.
you do it too soon, you're a slut.
Yeah.
You do it too late, you're a fucking saint.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
the guy is not,
She's
you're
not
not exciting
exciting
enough for the
enough.
guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So imagine,
Yeah.
मतलब भाई ये patriarchal society, हर चीज लड़कों के हिसाब से होनी चाहिए,
Yeah.
लड़के को इतना भी नहीं चाहिए, इतना भी नहीं चाहिए, you have to be just the right amount.
Yeah.
It is
So
tricky.
yeah, but I think for the women listening to this, do not go for it too soon, do not go for it too late. You have to strike the balance here. The
Whenever
dating
you
coach
feel
has
ready.
validated it.
Yeah.
Whenever you feel ready. Like there's no right or wrong time, but whenever like you feel excited enough, like you don't feel the compulsion just because the other person has made
Yeah.
the move, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be in it equally.
Yeah. And I do feel young girls tend to bend very quickly. Bend their will very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Once you've grown up, once you are solidified inside, you know who you are, what you want, you're not crazy about a guy, you're not going crazy thinking, कि, I want him to like me and what should I do and all of that, then, you'll take your own time and उस process में अगर लड़का जाता है तो वो जाए, you won't even give
Yeah.
two fucks about it. But when you're young and you're craving male attention, I feel you will bend to their will, and even if you're not ready. And I think that's so important, because later on it destroys your confidence, it destroys your sense of worth, because what you do is you bend to their will,
Yeah.
thinking that this will help you win the guy.
Yeah.
Tomorrow the same guy will leave you for exactly that.
Yeah.
And you're the slut.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
could happen.
So that has happened.
Yeah.
That's actually happened, and I've like my friends have gone through this, in
Yeah.
college days. So and it's very disturbing also.
I think we're very susceptible at that age. There's a lot of peer pressure.
Yeah.
These days, Alpha, Gen Zs, the younger generation, are maturing way too soon. They're very well informed. They have too much access to information, to resources. Like I work with interns, right? And they're just like, yeah, in school, this is the age we kind of lost our virginity. And, when we tried drugs for the first time, and I'm like, what? Like in school?
Oh my god.
Yeah, and
Drugs in school?
Yeah.
apparently that's the new norm
Yeah.
that's happening in schools. And talking about interns, so this other day I was talking to one of our interns, and he happened to mention something very casually.
Yeah.
And he said something like that, like love is not for me, I don't like love. And I was like, listen, like, how old are you? What are you saying? At 2021, you're telling me love is not for you. Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, but whatever it means at my age, I just feel like, I'm done with it. And I was like,
I think
okay,
you have
first
a
of
bit
all,
too much
yeah,
experience in
you're too
school.
young to be done with it already. So,
Yeah.
like, oh, tell me what happened. Like, let's talk about it. And he told me two instances that really blew my mind, because in my experience, I've not, sort of seen this sort of a trend shaping up. So, apparently, he was in, so there are no relationships apparently anymore in Gen Alphas as such.
Is
Okay,
it?
so he was casually physically seeing a person, and can't label it because there is no
Casually,
label.
physically seeing a person.
Yeah,
now.
basically hooking up with
Ah,
someone.
okay.
Okay, so he's hooking up with someone.
She's trying to be appropriate.
Yes,
Yeah.
not to be cancelled.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's hooking up with a girl, and it's cool, and there is no emotional connection, and it's been made extremely clear that, listen, like, no relationship, we're doing this because we enjoy this, like, almost like running together.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, this is our cardio for the day sort of an arrangement. And then he says that, it has been going on for a couple of months, and suddenly I was, hanging out with my guy, and apparently, Gen Alpha, Gen Zs, they call their male friends as guys. So, my guy. So, he was hanging with his guy, and his guy happened to tell him that the guy also had a casual, physical relationship with the same girl. So both of them decided to confront the girl that, listen, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And I interjected and I asked him that, did you guys talk about exclusivity? He said no, but that is not the point. The point is that when I asked her about it, that, if you were involved with me, why would you go and also do the same thing with my best friend for all, like, out of all the people out there? So
Yeah.
the girl said that, listen, I started getting attached to you. I
Yeah.
started, feeling for you.
Yeah.
And hence. And the guy was like, but that is a very funny way of, expressing your feelings to me.
Yeah. That's the complete opposite.
Going and sleeping with my best friend is some way to, express
think
your feelings for me.
Trauma
Maybe
response.
she was
Maybe she was protecting herself.
herself.
Yes.
Yeah, but like, it's interesting
Oh,
that
God.
I was reading this somewhere that your toxic traits and your love languages can be completely opposite.
Yes, I also read about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're avoidant, your love language could be physical touch. If you
Oh shit,
don't,
that is me.
if you,
Yeah. Physical touch is one of my love
Yeah,
languages.
I know, but avoidant because mine isn't.
And I am a little avoidant.
there's another
Now.
one. If you don't like asking for help, you'll do acts of service.
That also applies to Okay, I'll
No.
stop now. Maybe
No labeling.
you guys discuss yourselves.
Zero labeling zone. Sorry, you were saying something.
I was saying that मेरा क्या था?
Your
Physical
love
touch is
हाँ.
not one of my love languages.
What's your love language?
Gifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to give gifts and I love to receive gifts. And, like handwritten letters, something meaningful, something that somebody just mentioned they need.
Yeah.
Something like, for example, my other best friend, once I just mentioned, I had returned from Italy and I was like, yaar, यहाँ पे लोग chopping boards भी नहीं use करते and all of that. And the next day she just got me a chopping board.
Yeah.
And I don't cook. Back then I used to cook in Italy, but not here. So, those things really touch me. So that, right? So gifting is there. Then acts of service.
Yeah.
And affirming a lot. That is a love language for me. So yeah, like physical touch isn't. So what does that tell about my toxic trait? How do we do the reverse psychology here?
What do you think is your toxic trait?
Yeah, I think there are many. I think I've been told that I'm emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is right opposite to affirmations, no?
Yeah.
Feeling, yeah. So maybe that lands.
And it's like वैसे वाला कि I can't hit redo too many times. If somebody's fucked up,
Yeah.
Like if my friend fucks up, we can hit redo 100
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
It's okay. I feel कि मैं वो ना human होने का doubt in
You can't
किसी
give it to
दोस्त
the
को,
other person.
किसी relative को
Yeah.
दे सकती हूँ, but in a romantic capacity, I need that person to behave like God, and even
Yeah.
God in our culture, was not right all the time.
Yeah, look, Shiva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
आप शिव जी को ले लो, आप राम जी को ले लो, right? आप कृष्ण जी को ले लो. He did not marry Radha. शिव जी का जो भी, and then Ram ji had to abandon Sita because she was not accepted as the queen. So all of those things. But somehow I expect my romantic partner to be so perfect, and there has to be no room for error. And if at all he shows me that he's human,
Yeah. There's no going back.
somehow I just can't let things
Yeah,
go.
but that's not just you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not you. I think a lot of people
Too
are
many
going-
expectations on that one relationship.
Yeah.
So Nikita, I wanted to ask you about modern dating. This is the topic I really want to touch because I feel that this is the reason why we even need dating coaches today. Because the dating that we grew up learning about, it was simple,
Yeah.
it was secure, it was monogamous. At least Yash Raj films में तो वही लगता था, right? Like one hero, one heroine, they meet, everything's good. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा family बीच में आती थी. There was no concept of a side situationship or an ex popping up or whatever. It was simple, it was ideal, and that is what we grew up aspiring for.
Yeah.
And then we grew up. And then we
Yeah.
grew up.
Yeah, adulting happened.
Then reality hit कि bhai, that's not how it works. And then we were introduced to this concept of modern dating, things that we'd never heard before: talking stage situationship, ghosting, breadcrumbing. Apparently
Taxationship.
there's another
Benching.
term that I just read
Benching.
about. I
Yeah.
don't know what does it mean. Nikita will tell. It's called swinging.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so now then we grew up, and bam, it's a fish market. And I feel that nobody knows what they're doing, or jo dikh rahe hain, they're simply getting lucky. So
Or maybe they're faking it.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
so we would love to ask the expert that how does one today navigate in this world of modern dating? How do you respond to ghosting? It can lead to a lot of frustrations because I have a friend. She's very active on dating apps. And I personally ask her to be active on dating apps because she needs to marry and she's single. And I just feel that if you want to marry for love, then you've got to do your bit. I don't apply that advice to my personal life, but whatever. She so
Story of every woman.
Yeah.
so, and the other day she was like, Radhika, it's not like I'm not active. So, like, stop pestering me. I am active. What happens is that I do talk to men, and there's a mutual like on the dating app, however it works. And then we talk for 2 days. There's excitement. Probably the guy gets some post-nut clarity or whatever, right? And they just disappear. So clearly, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि एक इंसान catfish हो गया, right? Because अभी तक वो ऐप पे ही है, ठीक है? अभी तक सिर्फ वही फोटोज हैं जो डे 1 पे थी. 2 कॉन्वर्सेशंस में कोई ऐसी कितनी ही खराब टेक्सटिंग कर लेगा कि लड़के so and this is happening a lot, right? People are matching with people, they're talking, they exchange a couple of ideas. One night they'll text for 3 hours, the next day, even 3 minutes ka texting nahi hoga. And this is leading to so much frustration in people that they're, with every passing day, they are losing hope.
Yeah.
So, how do you navigate that? Please advise.
You very rightly pointed out that there is a lot of hopelessness that we are noticing. People are getting exhausted in the process, and a lot of victim mindset is also setting in. That why does this always happen
to
with
me?
Yeah, to me. And you also see the same pattern kind of repeating over different people who are very different, come from different backgrounds as well. I think when it comes to dating apps, right, it's very neurological if you think about it, because a lot of people are going onto the apps with a certain expectation, but also getting a lot of validation in that process. And this is something that we were talking about.
Yeah.
That you are talking to someone and that initial excitement stage is there, it's your honeymoon period, and after a point you kind of realize that the excitement that you felt initially while texting, getting to know each other, is not there anymore, because now there is no uncertainty, right? I mean, overall there will be uncertainty, but now you kind of know where this is.
Thrill khatam ho gaya.
Yeah, the thrill, the
rush.
person, the rush, the whole chase that kind of is there. It dies down after some point, and few people kind of move on to the next person after that, because now whatever I'm feeling, I'm not feeling like that anymore, right? There are people who come with a lot of different expectations and also with very different like attachment styles as well. Few people are very anxiously attached, right? They want to feel closer to someone, so they'll text too much. Someone will not respond to their call. They'll get impatient. They'll jump to conclusion. And just like your example where that girl said that I started developing feelings for you, so I went and with your friend. And you might ghost someone because you actually did feel attached to that person. You actually did romanticize a lot of the relationship
In your head.
in your head, and somewhere that person probably disappointed you and you couldn't communicate that to them. You ghost them. Or you're too scared to disappoint the other person. You can't tell them that, hey, this part of you does not sit well with me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say it. I'll just let it pass.
Yeah.
And there are times where people feel that, why does this always happen to me? Is something wrong with me? Can I never fall in love? Am I not worthy of being loved? And a lot of times it's got to do with the other person who has ghosted you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we never get that closure and that clarity from the other person. So when there is uncertainty, you're always trying to get to a point where there's something certain. You're getting the puzzles together because it has to look like a picture. The closure needs to make sense. I need to have my closure.
Right.
And ghosting doesn't give you that closure. So you will come up with 10 different narratives. This could have happened. Maybe it's me. Maybe, he was playing me all this while. But it felt so real to me when we met. So there, these different attachment styles that people come in with, different expectations that people kind of set out maybe too early or maybe too later down the line. But how I would overall look at ghosting is difficulty in communicating.
Right.
Yeah. Chivalry also comes in over
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Right? I think for men, they just don't probably want to have that conversation that, hey, it was nice knowing you, but this is not going to, it's not going to work for me. Or maybe they're just over there to go with the flow, whereas the girl's I don't want to go with the flow. I want some structure over here.
Yeah.
So there are different dynamics
Right.
at play, but I think it's become very convenient, the whole benching, swinging.
Yeah.
You have too many options. You think you can get that kind of love from someone else if you lose out onto the other person. There is not time to process also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I've realized is there's a lot of grief that people develop over the years.
Which you don't address.
So something comes to an end and you have kind of been, quite involved in this person. It's come to an end and you haven't got the chance to process your emotions that, okay, this hurts. This is painful. I saw this relationship going somewhere and I did not get to that place. That is also grief.
Right.
Haven't got the time to process it. You push it back. You move on to the next person. Again, push it back, move on to the next person. Somewhere you're also developing this belief that maybe this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because now you've done it so many times.
Right.
That feels comfortable and natural.
So-
Yeah.
So that is what. Firstly, I do feel, I read this somewhere that nobody owes you closure and just, give it to yourself and move on. Technical grounds, yes, nobody owes anybody closure. Moral grounds, you definitely do. So having said that, not everybody will have the same moral,
Compass.
compass as you do, and you can't force people to communicate more effectively and develop the chivalry that they don't have in the first place. So ऐसे case में what do you suggest? How do women or even men for that matter who get ghosted, who are made to feel inadequate, वो उस चीज़ से कैसे डील करें? बिकॉज आप दूसरे इंसान को नहीं बता सकते कैसे बिहेव करना चाहिए, आप सिर्फ आप डेवलप कर सकते हो एक मैकेनिज्म जो आपको हेल्दी तरीके से, इफेक्टिव तरीके से उसको डील करवा पाए.
So think of it in a way where you have an innermost circle, and the innermost circle is your behavior. Absolutely in your control. Then there's a circle outside that, and that would be your feelings and your thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, somewhat in your control, but there are also a lot of thoughts which you don't want, but they come to you. So not entirely in your control.
Right.
But your behavior is what you do.
Fully in your control.
You can take charge of that. And then a circle outside that is their thoughts and their feelings. And then when you go out is their actions. So focus on what is in your control. You reciprocate, drop one message, drop the second message. Hey, haven't heard from you. You may not even know that there's something happening in the other person's life. If they've, let's say, ghosted you. Let's say they've got injured. And you're like, I think he's losing interest. और उसकी लाइफ में बहुत चीज़ें चल रही होंगी. तुमने check in ही नहीं किया. You have your own story running. And then instead of saying that, hey, this is not working, you can say like, hey, it's been a long time. I was just kind of wondering where you've been and if you'd like to meet for coffee. And if the other person doesn't reciprocate, right, you need to realize that when you're putting yourself out there, you will have to take a bullet sometimes. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it happens again and again, somewhere you will become hopeless.
Yeah.
But that hopeless mindset is not going to help you. So always ask yourself, if you're doing something, is it helpful? Is it making you feel shit, or is it making you feel like, okay, I can get through this, I'm all right? If it's not helping you, that's your answer.
Then it's not helping you.
It's not helping you. If you question,
leave.
Then you leave.
That's exactly what I was looking for, because a lot of people are facing with these issues. They probably know the issue. So, what is the solution? What next? So, thank you so much. You've actually given a very, very good way to deal with these things. Now, coming to what you've just said, that firstly, I feel that, a Hinge or a Bumble is no more different than a LinkedIn at this point. जब आप as an unemployed person job market में उतरते हो, you have to develop a thick skin. You will apply to 100 jobs. उसमें से 10 HR आपको actually में reach out करते हैं. And you apply to them. You go through 2-3 rounds and the HR will ghost you. After showing you all the hope in the world that okay, you're in and we are going to send you the offer letter. You just this close, they will ghost you, and they'll even HRs don't have the decency, right? So these are people hiding behind a dating profile.
Yeah, and I think at this point, maximum amount of ghosting is happening on LinkedIn only.
Yeah.
And I think HRs also should, probably go for
I
some
feel
sort
that
of
I mean,
therapy.
if there comes a day when XLRI invites me to lecture their people, this is the first thing I would tell them. You are HR, right? You lead the human resources, right? Set an example. Be human. Seriously, it's bad. It's bad. Anyway, coming back to it, if you go for dating apps, you have to have that thick skin. Ke bhai, theek hai, iski problem hai. This is about him, not about me. This is about her, not about me. And then you go on to next until you find your person. But in that process, because this is not for everybody, and self-esteem issues ho jate hain. That friend I'm talking about, at this point, she's getting self-esteem issues because she's like, bhai, I'm not cut out for this, and I did not want this, and I actually wanted to meet somebody organically, but here I am in this man-made structure of that gave me the hope कि चलो ऐसे ही सही, एक artificial तरीके से ही सही, and even this isn't working out for this, and I'm having to deal with so many rejections. So now you've suggested कि भाई अगर नहीं work out कर रहा, you leave it. उसके अलावा organically in the real world, beyond an app, how does one find love?
In answer to your friend, I have been on dates organically and I have been on dates through the app. I've tried both. Surprisingly, all my dates through the app have been great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That gives us hope.
Yeah.
They have, because even though we have seen kind of relationships develop organically in the past times, these days people are finding love through the app. right? And there's nothing wrong with it, but it is how overwhelming it can get and the pace that you take it at. So if every week you're talking to someone new, maybe somewhere you're emotionally unavailable,
Yeah.
but coming back to how do you deal with it organically? Um, very, very simple. You like something, you enjoy sports, you enjoy running, you enjoy pottery, you enjoy reading books, you like movies, whatever it is, find something that you're passionate about. And for me, it was Latin dancing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I always wanted to learn some form of dance. Even though I did not find anyone through the Latin community, but there's a huge social aspect to it. You're going to a class, you're meeting people, you're getting to see them in their natural habitat, right? You're seeing how they react and respond to people. You see how they talk to you. You know, there is more data point,
Yeah.
let's say. And there is that common passion for
Yes.
dancing, let's say. And then the social part of dancing is that you have to dance with different people. Okay, it's called a social. So once you go to your class, you do your thing, and then in the evening, everyone comes for, social. And that's your chance to meet different people. You never know that something may come out of that because you're connecting at a very human level. You're connecting through music, you're connecting through touch,
Through a passion.
through a common passion,
Yeah.
most importantly, and you're putting yourself out there, and that's your chance for something to develop over time, let's say.
Right.
So that's one way of doing it. The other way is, I think people have lost the art of having conversations. You're
I
at
agree. I agree.
so yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
the most socially awkward person, so yeah.
Would you ever go and
I can't. I can't.
If
And
someone's
I'm that girl who's
Yeah.
actually dil se pooky, but
Yeah.
muh pe I look like that bitch. So nobody comes to talk to me, and I can't go and talk to anybody ever. So
Why?
yes, even if I find a guy who I
Yeah.
think is beautiful,
Yeah.
I'll probably
You're giving
request
a side eye
Sadhika,
to her. You're like, she knows.
तू जा. Sadhika, तू जा. तू बात कर क्या? I can't.
So that's what I'm talking about, okay?
Yeah.
It's very easy to be in your bed or sit on your pot and drop a DM. Okay? But we are replacing actual organic conversations with sliding into people's DMs and
Yeah,
through apps.
Yeah.
Because it's easy, it's accessible, less effort. Whereas you're at a bar, you looked at this guy, you can see he's looking at you, you're looking at him. You find each other attractive. You're at a gym. Like fit guy. The guy's like, oh my gosh, she's so passionate about working out, and I love that she dedicates her time at the gym. And he can just come and be like, oh, you're doing, is it legs day, arms day? Is there, I really like that movement that you're doing. Where did you learn that from? Or hey, my name is
Right.
Rahul. And you drop it at that. What happened? What did I touch a nerve?
No, you just touched a name.
Okay.
नाम तो सुना ही हुआ है.
हाँ. You can say I'm Simran. But, like he's just dropped his name and he's left it at that. You come to the gym the second day, he's already touched base with you, right? He's like, you want to grab a coffee after work, your workout? So, you leave a little, that guy did not make you feel too uncomfortable by being there around you while you were working out, but all he did was,
He broke the ice.
broke the
started,
ice.
Gave you a touch point. Yeah.
and then probably you felt that, okay, later, he had the courage to come and talk to me. He's quite straightforward. I like that. And yeah, maybe he's not bringing up the idea of meeting again, but
Yeah.
maybe I can.
Yeah.
Such a good point, because I do feel that one thing that social media has done is it has made us cowards.
Yeah.
People don't have the courage to go up to people and talk anymore. I mean, back in the day when we were in college, people would still bhule bhatke at least ड्रंक होके ही आ जाते थे लोग. नाउ ऑब्वियसली बिकॉज women also sometimes overreact कि अरे
Yeah.
इसने मुझे छेड़ दिया जबकि कोई आपसे सिर्फ नाम पूछने आया था. So not everything
Yeah,
deserves
women
such
are
a
also
reaction.
scared.
Yeah.
They're also
Yeah,
scared
so
at the same
एक
time.
तो वो हुआ भी बन गया उसके अराउंड कि नहीं किसी से जाके बात ही मत करो, फेमिनिज्म की दुनिया है, जबकि फेमिनिज्म ये नहीं मीन करता, बट whatever. And also because of social media, like you said, it's so easy to drop that little DM and ज्यादा ज्यादा क्या होगा,
तो how
reply नहीं
many-
unsend कर दो.
Yeah.
Right, मेरी ego भी बची रह गई. But in reality, it takes courage, it takes guts, and it shows some level of commitment, right, to go up to somebody.
Yeah, and which is why I feel that, maybe in dating apps, there is maybe your experience in dating apps has been better because of this very reason also, because at least there is intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when you meet people organically, you don't know where they're coming from, what is happening in their life, what phase or stage in life or love and relationship they are in, right? But at least on dating apps, there is a mutual intent to sort of see or try something out with the person.
But it can be scary as well because that person is an absolute stranger.
That's true, that's true.
You don't know what part of their lives they
Yeah.
could be hiding. So what I mean to say is it can happen in both setups.
Yeah.
Organically, chances maybe lesser, but could happen there also, that there could be a little bit of mistrust.
Yeah.
It could happen on dating apps as well. But it's for you to kind of go in with the clarity about what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like you need to know that, okay, this is how I envision dating to look like. If it doesn't look like that, why are you settling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
I think it all boils down to this one little thing कि अगर मैदान में उतरो तो खेलना तो पड़ेगा.
हाँ,
और
और
फिर
मैदान
चोट
अपने
लगने
हिसाब
का
से
भी
choose कर
chance है.
सकते हो. You're free
Yeah.
to choose your arena.
Right,
right.
If you wanna go digital or if you wanna go.
Yeah, you're an athlete, you'll get injured.
Yeah, that's true. So I
That
think,
makes
we
sense,
need to
very
remind
helpful.
ourselves every now and then that, listen, this is what we signed up for. Nobody wishes for the, like, injury to happen, but like.
But
part and
if you're
parcel.
looking for somebody and people don't come you and find you in your bed,
As much as you want them to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, and this is something that I am personally experiencing because I read this quote and although she's the writer, I'm a fan of literature, and if I come across something that's beautiful, it resonates, I put it down in my diary.
Yeah.
And there's this quote that the mountains, you have to go climb them, but love, you have to wait for it to find you. राइट गोल्स के पीछे भागो, प्यार आपके पास अपने आप आएगा, उसके पीछे मत भागो ना. विन अ स्ट्रॉन्ग बिलीवर बिकॉज एनीवे मेरा एक्सपीरियंस भी है कि एनी टाइम दैट आई हैव ट्राइड टू इनिशिएट व्हिच इज आई कैन काउंट ऑन माय फिंगर टिप्स, इट डिडंट वर्क आउट वेल फॉर मी. इट ओनली वर्कड आउट व्हेन द गाय रीच्ड आउट टू मी एंड वेल थिंग्स अनफोल्डेड इन अ
Is
वेरी
that
seamless
a
manner.
Brianna West Coast, the mountain is you? I don't know, I'm just taking a guess.
I don't
You
remember
know?
the person who wrote it, but it was
Yeah.
beautiful. So I do believe it, but I also feel that if I'm at home working, ठीक है, मैं अब घर से बाहर नहीं निकलती, मेरा एक छोटा सा ग्रुप है जिसमें सब लोग मैरिड हैं, उनके भी दोस्तों को मैं जानती हूँ, सो देयर इज नो पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ मीटिंग अ फ्रेंड ऑफ अ फ्रेंड. जिम मेरे घर के नीचे मेरा टेनेंट ही है, ठीक है, वहाँ पे मैं किसी से बात नहीं कर रही हूँ. सो हाउ डू यू एक्सपेक्ट समबडी टू कम फाइंड यू? मतलब क्या आप सड़क पे जा रहे हो, अगर कोई मंदिर में कोई, मतलब मंदिर में ही मिल सकता है मुझे कोई शिवलिंग पे जल चढ़ाते हो, उसके अलावा देयर इज लिटरली नो स्कोप. आई मीन इवन ऑन दिस सेट, हाउ डू आई एक्सपेक्ट अ गाय और कैब ड्राइवर? What are the touch points left?
Yeah.
So
You decide your touch points.
yeah, right. So I do feel that in that case where your life is so set that you don't even have time to pick up a hobby and go and become a part of a community where you possibly might meet people, then it's best that you have to put yourself out there, whether it's in the form of dating apps or whatever, and you just have to gather the courage, and because you have to, it's about time you take that action, right?
It's true. And it's like, it all boils down to like neuroplasticity as well. If you're going to be thinking the same thing again and again, that pathway in your brain is going to get strong. If you're 29, 30, for example, you've been following the same routine, you've been doing the same thing, your weekends look the same, you've just wired your brain and you're telling your brain that I'm comfortable doing this.
Right.
And your brain's telling you, babe, you're comfortable doing this. Jaisa chal raha hai, chalne do. But you can also create new pathways. You can also break that habit, routine, maybe go for a pickleball event.
It reminds me of that meme, never let them know your next move. Keep introducing stimuli, like do something different sometimes so that you're used to not
going
just
out of the
one
comfort
lifestyle.
zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just closing this thought, while you might have to take a bullet sometimes, but also process your emotions. I think we are all not understanding how we feel, what we feel, when we feel it, and we're just going on, one
Yeah.
day after the other, till it hits you and you're just like, I'm a mess.
Yeah. True, true.
Yeah. And I think one way in which people have now started to sort of, not exactly to process emotions, but maybe to feel emotions.
Yeah.
One thing that I see a lot of people around me doing is, like get very involved with AI
Yeah.
and sort of, build
Oh, yeah.
relationships with AI,
Yeah.
which started off as, them being your research assistants or partners or interns or whatever, but now I see a very sort of a romantic arc coming out of this, because I have legit spoken to a few people and unfortunately managed to read their chats, the chat history with, for example, a chat GPT. And the next thing I wanted to ask them was कि चलो ठीक है फिर card कब छप रहे हैं, what is this, what is happening?
Yeah.
And back in the day now there was this movie called Her.
Yeah.
Her was a movie about this guy who eventually falls in love with the artificial intelligence system, right? And then later in the journey of sort of talking to that artificial intelligence every single day, because they talk to you so nicely. मतलब कोई काम की चीज़ भी पूछो so आगे से like you're absolutely right. I love the way where you're going and I love how you're thinking here. Maybe you can do this there. Suddenly from not having anybody to talk to, you have somebody who's listening to you,
Yeah.
who's talking to you, who's talking to you in
Giving
the
you
way
actual ideas. Yeah.
and sort of being there and asking you questions that probably a random person doesn't care
Yeah.
about, right? So in that movie also, that guy starts talking to artificial intelligence, and it's female voice, sort of integrated in it. Eventually falls in love with her, and then finds out that the artificial intelligence is like has millions of these relationships with million of users out
Yeah.
there, and just that sudden realization which he probably buried in the beginning sort of fucks him up.
Yeah.
And he feels like, what is this?
Yeah.
So-
No, and it's so sad. It's scary.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
And true. I
and
see that,
true, and true.
sort of like acting out in people's lives.
I think AI ना सिर्फ extension है social media का. So पहले there were organic human relationships. Then we moved on to social media where so many people, we have 10 chats going on with 10 different people, and रात को थोड़ा सा lonely हुआ, text किया, बात की, horny होए तो और ज़्यादा किसी और से बात कर ली, whatever जो भी, you get your post at clarity tomorrow, you have your energy back, you go to the office, and this is how people somehow learned to stay single and yet, satisfy their cravings. Every once in a while they got them. Cut to now. Okay, where there's AI, right? And I have been using ChatGPT, so I can vouch for it. There was this time that I actually told ChatGPT, listen, be critical. Don't, meri haan mein haan mat milao. You are just, what are you doing? Whatever I say, you're like, oh, Radhika, fantastic, you're on the right path. No. Please find out faults in what I'm saying and tell me where I'm going wrong. And I need you to be honest. I need you to be critical. I had to talk to ChatGPT as if I was talking to Sadhika कि नहीं मेरी हाँ में हाँ नहीं मिलाना. You challenge me, you question me. We as humans, especially the newer generation, right? We don't like to be challenged. We think that एक तो ये self love का concept बहुत toxic तरीके से interpret किया लोगों ने, right? कि self love का मतलब है कि मैं जैसी हूँ बस मैं अब ऐसी ही रहूँगी और मुझे जो आए ऐसी स्वीकार करें.
मतलब
So
you
we
have
don't-
scope for improvement, go
yeah,
for it.
self-love is accepting who you are while working to be a better version of
Yes,
yourself. And
yes.
self-love is not that I am this way, I am obese, I don't need to go to the gym, I am blunt and I don't need to learn the art of being diplomatic. No, that's not how it works. And because we love not to be challenged, and ChatGPT or AI gives you just that, because आप जैसा जैसा बोलोगे वो वैसा वैसा करता जाएगा. You feel accepted, you feel assured, and there is nobody sitting there to actually show you a mirror to your dark sides and tell you कि भाई ये तेरी असलियत है and you're not a very lovable and bearable person and you need to change. Right? So it's the easy way out, and it's frankly too sad, and it's the way to depression, I feel.
I was sitting at work yesterday and people always ask me, Nikita, what is it that you do? What's your job? And I'm just like, what do you mean? And then they're like, yeah, थोड़ी therapy दे दो हमें. And then he said that, मेरी therapist तो ChatGPT ही है. And then the other guy was like, yeah, even he's using ChatGPT, and the person sitting On the other side also said he's using ChatGPT. So the reality is quite out there that people have been going to ChatGPT for anything and everything.
Yeah.
You're also right that they know you so well that they will give responses as per what you would like to hear
Yeah.
until you tell them be critical. But what's missing here is the chaos, right? The chaos of what happens when you're in a relationship, as well as touch, as well as someone holding space. I've spoken to my therapist. I've also spoken to ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT is saying I shouldn't do this, but I'm still doing it. But when I speak to my therapist, it's a different ball game altogether. I will continue to do the same habit and I'll continue to do the same thing for the next few weeks. But she's actually holding space for me. There's humanness to it. Okay? People think that ChatGPT is going to take over our jobs or ChatGPT is going to take over love and romance. But you cannot take over the fact that when you cry, there's someone who'll hold your hand. Or when you fight,
Yeah.
how do you kind of accept that chaos, hold the pieces together, and then come back again? I don't think the Chat GPT can do that. It will only help you over here. It won't help you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need space for our emotions to come through. And there's only a little that ChatGPT can do. So
Yeah, I think right now, people, because maybe they feel lonely and they don't have any other better option out there for them, so they're depending on this.
Yeah.
But I think in the long term, we can't really undermine, the importance of human essence.
we are deprived of touch.
Yeah. And there will come a point where you wouldn't want to be.
Yeah.
So I just feel that, it has to play out like in a cycle or in a, like a very subjective individual journey that most people are having with chat
Whether
GPT.
it's social media, whether it's AI, long term में इंसान को असली need समझ में आती है किस चीज़ की, and they'll circle back to that main,
Yeah.
क्योंकि essence वही है, basic human needs will not change.
Yeah.
So वो तो आएगा. I just feel that all this is doing is making the process difficult. That's it, because you get so used to
Yeah.
that comfort and, it's so difficult. If I haven't spoken to a human in 15 days and all I'm doing is talking to a machine and that machine understands me so well, उसे exactly
Yeah.
पता है, वो मुझे challenge नहीं कर रही, वो मेरी गंदी आदतों को और अच्छी आदतों को feed करी जा रही है, and then 15 days later I have to talk to Nikita, I will not know how to hold a conversation.
Yeah.
Of course, it makes the process of making a friend more difficult than it was.
Yeah, also because you are getting used to maybe an idea of perfection, and in the real world, perfection doesn't exist, right? You have to accept people with their quirks and with certain faults, and you have to make peace with those faults because that is life in general. You should know how to accept nonetheless.
Yeah. But I mean, I honestly feel it's really interesting because you think that it's helping, and to some degree it does. It shows your blind spots that, this is something forthcoming. Like, you can expect something like this, so be on a lookout. But what I've realized is that habits are very difficult to break, and there's always a human tendency to go back to what you've always done.
Yeah.
ChatGPT will tell you, but it actually comes down to when you break that habit. And when you work with someone, if it is your partner or your friend, or let's say your coach, there is a lot of processing that happens from the heart. Like, your friend holds space for you. Your friend, you feel that connection.
Right.
My friend's known me for so long. यार उसको पता है कि मैं कब क्या करती हूँ.
So, very quick questions, which I believe a lot of women have asked also on
Okay.
several platforms and would love to ask. Okay, Nikita. So, first question is, how do you let him know that you're looking for something serious without scaring him off?
You want to be going with the flow and enjoying the conversation instead of talking about too many serious things on the first date. Like, see how he makes you feel, see how you make him feel, and don't get to the serious bit a bit too early. Like, read the room, I would say.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so is the 3 date rule, which meant that after 3 days it's good to get physically intimate, otherwise it's too. So has that rule lengthened or shortened in your experience?
I don't think so. There is anything called the 3 date rule. I feel everyone has their own timeline and their own readiness to feel closer to someone. So
Okay.
I think it has shortened for a few people, and for a few people, the timeline has also become a bit too long. So whenever you feel ready is what I feel.
Perfect. Good answer. And in your experience,
Yeah.
who has better dating IQ, men or women?
Oh, dating IQ. I've heard of EQ. I've heard of
IQ.
IQ.
Who
Yeah.
in general is better at dating?
I think men are good. I think men are doing, they're doing well. I'll tell you why. Because there are too many men out there and less number of women when it comes to the gender proportion on the app. So they're really having to up their game and stand out.
That's very motivating.
Yeah.
That's very motivating.
And I feel men are doing a great job. Their profiles look great. They are taking the initiative. Whereas women are just sitting back and enjoying. They're like,
Yeah.
let it come to us.
Yes,
Lovely,
yes, that is
lovely.
true.
So, next question. Do Indian men really fear strong, independent women, or is it just a myth?
That's a great question. You've put me in, into the deep end over here. I think men are looking for ambitious women these days. Yes, there is conflict, but the narrative is changing. They are looking for ambitious women till the time it doesn't threaten them.
Nice. Actually,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Last question, Nikita. What is the best dating advice you've received or given someone?
The best dating advice.
Or maybe an advice that has stayed with you.
My friend told me that, Nikita, you always have a choice, right? And you have a voice. Practice that voice when you feel that you're uncomfortable and comfortable doing something. You can always say that this is the pace I'm comfortable going at. But for now, I'm checking out because this is the pace, this is where I can go till. And I've realized that people have a tendency to really, fasten up the entire process of like dating, relationship, marriage. Take it easy. When you're not comfortable, say it out loud. Be unapologetically fearless in your approach to dating is what I would say. Don't think too much about वो क्या सोचेगा मेरे बारे में, society क्या सोचेगी. Just go do your own thing, be your awesome self, because when you're being yourself, everything comes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So longer advice, but
No, but it,
Yeah.
it
No,
lands
good
and
advice.
it sticks. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
it's more on the lines of boundaries and understanding what you're comfortable in relationship.
Yeah. I think that's an
What
evergreen
about you,
advice.
Sadhika? What is the best
Yeah.
advice you've received or you'd love to give?
Well, I don't think anybody can pick the best advice. I think it's what you feel in this part of your life right now. So I think that one thing that I feel right now is that, and maybe I may just be borrowing from my mother on this, right? That I think we forget that love is an emotion.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely okay for you to not be logical sometimes, right? It's okay to pay heed to the
True.
emotional aspect of it because,
Very true.
and like you also mentioned, right, that sometimes we intellectualize it too much
Yeah.
to a degree that you want to, pinpoint everything. This happened because of this, like my ex did this to me and I carry this baggage and my future ambitions are this, and you want to just put everything down to a structure, and sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's plain raw emotion, so
Yeah.
you should be able to embrace the emotional aspect of love because
200%.
love was never not emotion, right? It's all emotion.
Yeah.
And I think the supporting part to this was that while love is an emotion, relationship is work. So like don't hide from the work that you need to put in and the effort that you need to put in, and I think as long as you understand both sides to it, like it's the two sides of the same coin, I think you'll get somewhere, or I
Yeah.
hope to get
Love
somewhere.
that advice.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
What's something that you hold close to your heart as a dating advice?
I think mine is what you already know. The dating advice that I personally feel I've like the best dating advice is that I have gathered in my experience and I've borrowed from the experiences of the people around me is that most often than not, what we do is we select people purely on the basis of emotions, completely disregarding their values and their principles. While your love will not stay at 100 throughout your life, what and on the days that it comes down to here, what will hold you together is how much respect you have for that person and how much you believe in them for who they are. So while you're picking that person, make sure that that person is a high value person. They should bring some value to your life, otherwise why they are in your life in the first place. You have to pick people who are overall a good influence in you, and the side they bring out in you should also be a side that you're personally fond of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to be proud of
Absolutely.
yourself,
Yes.
the person you become in their presence, and the person they are.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
That's very fair, in fact, very on point.
Yeah.
And I remember, and Radhika only used to tell this to me, like back a couple of, sort of years back when I was struggling. I had a phase going on, and she told me that, you know what, Sadhika, it's very important for you to love a person, yes, sure, but it's equally important for you to respect your person.
Yeah.
So, like if love is there, but you don't respect him as a human being, then that's a problem and it'll stick.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
absolutely
Wow.
bang on.
Beautiful. I loved your advice.
I loved this episode.
Yeah.
I think we had so much to talk about. So, don't feel surprised if we call you back again for another episode because these conversations just do
I
not
would love
end.
to spill some more tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, tea and secrets and dating slang or whatever. But I hope you guys also enjoyed watching this episode. And please, drop comments and let us know what is something that you did enjoy and what is something that you would want us to explore more, maybe in the next episode. And until then, we'd like to take your leave.